Bim, 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 bim.
Guess what?
The nations.
We are agents of transformation.
That's
Let's
right.
see. Today when I was coming, I was like, let me try a little bit because Dorcas said, don't look like a weapon fashion.
Against me. Hey, do I look like a weapon formed against me?
Pacho be sorry, that's not mine.
Let's go. Welcome to the PK podcast. This is where we share our side of the story. My name is MC Otoberima and I'm here with
Ohimama.
Ahimama. Today, we are going to talk. Every time it's always exciting when you know your guest and you know that what we're going to talk about is just informational, educational, it's fun, it's all of it. But before then, we have to acknowledge our wonderful, beautiful sponsors. And as usual, you always know Kumasi Supermarket. Go to African.market. You can order everything online. My friends, my brothers and sisters who are in college, all the single brothers and sisters who are sitting there, you can order shito, you can order gari mix, you can order fufu, you can order bayire, you can order shito. We'll ship it to you wherever you are. God bless you. Make sure to check it out. If you're in the DFW area, Kumasi Supermarket, check us out. All right. Suya Love. Grilled suya, grilled beef, grilled chicken, grilled beef. Nice. And you have your event. Hit my boy up. Suya Lab. All these ones, you're going to find them on Instagram. And our sister, Trust J Events. If you want wonderful dance floors, nice, so that you can dance on your D-Day. You want shiny, your name encrypted, inscripted, logo, embossment. No other place than Trust J Events. Obeya, Yededema Jesus.
In Trust J Events, we trust.
In Trust J Events, we trust. Hey, man.
Yes.
Today, who do we have? Let's go.
So I have a lot of brothers and sisters, but this is just another one of my brothers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've known him since I was young. Like, I don't want to say it wasn't baby, but like since I was a youngin.
You were a baby, please.
I wasn't a baby, but literally I've known him for a lot of my life. He is a blessing. Like, I can't wait for him to come and share insight. He's a big brother. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a doctor.
Doctor.
You gotta like slang it at the end because he's not a normal doctor. And on top of that, he's an entrepreneur. Is that how you say it?
Onwa.
He's every day.
PK for can say, oh yeah, what dado na yeah juba.
Yes. No, Dorcas gave us too many ways. But yes, no, he is a blessing. Like, I don't know what he doesn't do. And he just has so much knowledge. And he's very active in his church as well. And so without talking much, I know him as Cujo. But y'all, with no further ado, let's invite Lecester Asemnor.
Sister,
yeah.
You blow it. You want us to go do a redo?
Yes. If you did the same thing, we would too. And it's on period. I'm not arguing.
Welcome,
Carefree zone.
Exactly. We are so happy to have you on here. You know, it's been long overdue, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We met at Pensa conference and we were chatting and we were like, bro, we need to do this and we need to make this happen. We need to, tell what we got, what is in there, what we feel like, and all the good things that we can do for the people of God, for our friends, for our families. There's a song. Me yenya me to me when you no, I don't know. But well, guys, we don't have to do too much. You hear the last name and you know where he's coming from. He's about to be a retiree PK.
I forgot to add that. Why everybody, the two of you this year, right?
This year we are the 2024 class of 2024. Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky. Oh, we're but don't worry.
Yeah, you will do her.
Yeah,
but
quite senior you.
What's that?
Yeah, quite this year after retiring, yeah, he's senior.
Whatever. No, but I must say, after when we met at Pensa, there's some people that when they watch, like they have time to watch this, it's honestly shocking because your life, like when we see what you do, I wouldn't even expect that you even have time to watch what we're doing here. But you've showed us mad support, given us like some great feedback. So publicly, we want to shout you out for being like a dedicated follower to our platform.
Oh yeah, it's a Friday ritual. Absolutely. When that phone goes off, bing, it's like everything has to stop.
Hey, people, have you heard? Subscribe, oh. You didn't hear that ding and turn off the notification button.
No, but let's not waste time. Let's get straight into our discussion. So some of us know you, and then some people know you from afar. So let us know, who are you, your parents? Give us like a little background on your life.
Awesome. Oh, guys, thank you so much for inviting me here. I can't tell you how proud I am of the two of you for putting this together. I tell people all the time, there's always needed that safe space to be able to express yourself. Our community doesn't do that as much, but you guys, you being at the forefront and putting it together, you give people the ability and the place to come together and to be able to express themselves. So thank you so much for allowing God to give you the opportunity to do this. So really appreciate it. So for me, I mix in the English and cheese. So if I do, please forgive me. Forgive me. I can't get away from my roots. But yeah, the name is Cujo or Lecester Asemnor. Lecester Cujo Asemnor. Born and raised in Ghana. Specifically, yes, Newboy Town. I lived in Newboy Town for a good maybe 7-8 years. And then I lived in Tantra Hills for a bit too. And then I moved to the States in 2000 with my parents in Connecticut. When we got here, my dad wasn't a pastor yet. He was still a presiding elder, Hartford District.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Hartford District.
No, I feel like interjected. So, wait. You continue.
Yeah, so he helped start that church in Hartford. He was a presiding elder in Hartford for a long period of time. We came in 2000, stayed in Connecticut for 2 years, and then that's when he was called into ministry. He was called into ministry as an overseer in 2002, and we were moved from Hartford, East Hartford, Connecticut, Hartford to Atlanta, Georgia. We stayed in Atlanta, Georgia for about 5 years. That's where I did middle school and high school. And then from Georgia, we were transferred to New Jersey. And then New Jersey, we were in New Jersey for about 5 years. And then from New Jersey, we were transferred. They were transferred to Houston. That's where he became an apostle.
That's where you guys left the train.
Yeah, that's the part that we were like,
they were transferred.
They were transferred. Yeah. They went off to Houston, for a bit. I think he was in Houston as a district pastor for about a year or two. And then he was called into apostleship and became the regional head in Houston. And then from Houston, they came to Virginia, were in Virginia for a bit, and then went back to New Jersey. But in New Jersey, he went back as the regional head in New Jersey. So from that Houston spot, I ended up going to Worcester, Massachusetts. That's where I did pharmacy school. Did pharmacy school for did pharmacy school at MCPHS. I know a lot of Ghanaians went to MCPHS.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Name. It's very common. That's nice.
And I used to love school till I finished MCPHS, and now it's like my poem.
You go pesca.
That's it. I'm done.
Wow.
So aside from the transfers, what are your earliest memories of being in ministry?
It's definitely Atlanta. I call Atlanta, Georgia my second home. Obviously, it ended up being my actual home because I ended up coming back. But I feel like that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I started knowing myself, becoming more of who I am and learning. I mean, at that point, I was still a teenager, but I had friends here that I was able to connect with, you know what I mean? And it was a discovery phase in my life. So I think it was just the friends that I made here in Atlanta. And we can get into that at a later point in time, but it ended up being that my wife was also in Atlanta. So,
wow, okay.
So,
hey, Atlanta, Atlanta, Georgia.
So wait, while you were there, were you was she were you spying her while you were there?
Was it like a PK crash? And then you're like, I need to go back to. We need to hear that story.
Don't tell her I told you, but she was the one who at that time.
No,
not like that. I mean, all pushy. Not, but I was like,
no, we need to get her on here. Pursuing a PK. Tell us how that.
You know the funny thing is, a lot of these ladies don't like to date PKs. Hey, boys, bro, all these PK guys, because they fear that this PK is going to be a pastor, or they don't want that Pentecostal ice, quote unquote, or they don't want that pressure. Because they feel like they can't live their life because they're PK and all that. I mean, obviously, we know that is. Some people think it's not a big deal. But well, how has that been though? Let's touch on that since it's still part of it. How has that been like?
Oh,
for her, you knowing her and you being, a son of a pastor, and then she actually wanting to be married to you or wanting you. Some people are very apprehensive about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, it took some convincing, right? Because the lifestyle isn't for the weak,
Sure, definitely.
It isn't for the weak, but I mean, I always say in anything there's always positives and negative. If you dwell on the negative, you'll never make a step, right? So you always got to make sure that you're harping on the positives and find ways to extenuate the negatives, right? Make sure that it doesn't become a burden. So it was like we talked through it. We kind of came to an understanding of what it would look like. Obviously, it's still a work in progress. Because I mean, every time we have events and you have to kind of rehash certain things and be like, hey, these are some of the expectations, So, but it's definitely a work in progress. But she's really done well with it. She's done well with it.
Yeah, and I love that both of you serve, and even at Pensa, both of you having to be in rooms and moderating and sharing knowledge. and stuff. Like, it's great. It's great. Like, you couldn't have drawn anything like that. You know what I mean? And I think it's important that we shout it out too. You know? Why
Oh yeah, I'm super
Shout out
proud of
to
her.
IP.
Like, oh yeah. My wife is the better part of me, to be honest. I'm always amazed at what she do and
When
how well.
Nkaya Shatawale and Kana Alberto, Melise.
I'm weak. Okay. So, like, still on this conversation of like ministry, early ministry, what are some proud moments that you had in the ministry? I guess you can speak on it on like an entire level, like family wise, or maybe individually, and then maybe some not so proud moments that you also want to share with the public.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for my dad, I mean, he's really put work in, you know what I mean? He's done a lot of and there's a lot of innovative things that he's tried to do, which is kind of groundbreaking in our community, you know, some of it, and then in a year, but at the very least, he's willing to try. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's been able to open a lot of different churches. I remember when he was in the Western region, like the amount of travel the man does. I don't know.
Your dad, you can call him 1 hour he'll be here, and the next hour he's somewhere
else. Yep.
Yeah.
I remember when we were in Georgia, he would literally drive 8 hours to that Florida Quino was like or find a sense you or Kobasa, you know what I mean? Yeah. He was able to help to establish the Florida. At first it was Florida, it was locals, then it became districts, and now I believe we're regional. We're going on regional levels, or we are regional levels. Even in the Western region, a lot of travel back and forth. Because at first the Western region wasn't even a region; it was just districts, right? So like constantly on flights every single time, just flying around, you know. So he really has a way of helping to establish churches, and that's something that we're really proud of him for. And then also his administrative abilities. He's really good at putting things together and putting things in an organized way, and certainly also establishing churches and building churches. So those are definitely proud moments for us. As a family, definitely shout out to my mom. She's actually launching her book this coming weekend. 2 books. She wrote two books at the same time. Right. Well, 2 books. I can't even. Which time is one paragraph cry? I managed to write 2 books at the same time, so that's definitely a proud moment for the family as well. And we're looking forward to launching her book. Some of the downsides there. I mean, there's plenty of them. One could possibly be my little brother passing away while we were in Atlanta. You know, that was a tough time for our family. It still kind of reverberates sometimes, but I mean, by God's grace, we're continuing to work through that. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Not to harp on that moment, but just to take a moment, what advice would you give to a PK or a minister's family who has maybe dealt with the loss of a family member and, you know, still having to push on in ministry? What is one advice you would give them?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's not easy because death at such a young age really does change people. It's a counterfactual because you never know what you could have been if that event hadn't happened. You know, and it does change you in a lot of different ways. I know for me, it was tough in the beginning, right? But I made it a point to use it as a motivational tactic, right? It's like I'm gonna make him proud of me, or try to live the life that he didn't get a chance to live, right? At every moment, try so Orshemia, he can say, "Oh, okay, Kujo did. He was proud. I'm proud of what he did." You know what I mean? I don't always live up to that standard, to be honest. Sometimes I fall short, but at the end of the day, it's the process, just trying to make sure that at every single step that he's going to be proud and you're living the life that he never got a chance to live.
I know you're making him proud, so. But yeah, that's great advice. That's great advice. Yeah.
I give props. Like, this is a major salute to your parents. Like, to even go ahead and do it and serve God relentlessly, tirelessly, even in this. Like, you know, I cannot imagine. Like, I cannot imagine, you know, and well, you don't have words for it. But you know, to chime in from what I know from your dad, HSC, right? Holy Spirit Conference. He was the chairman. He was kind of like the guy, you know, right on point. And great. We had this idea of sponsorship, right? And we pitched it to him. Great. He's like, oh, yeah. So we had pitched it to Misty, and Misty was like, yeah, let's pitch it to
why did you put that name out there? Because people don't know who he is.
Listen. And he was like, yo, yeah, I think that's a great idea. We actually did that in one of the districts or whatever place he was in. We're having programs like Easter conventions or whatever. And they were doing it then. And then not knowing, they had also had the daycare thingy. That they had done. And even now, he's the head of the one that they just opened in the Pentecost Academy in Albany. So it's like right now thinking about it, facts. He has done his due diligence, like great stuff, right? And thinking about all the things that people go through and they stop. Because I feel like a lot of pastors, even a lot of leaders, when things happen in their lives, they get a little setback. They become very lackadaisical. It's like they've not given up, but they're not giving their all. You know, so I think I see that in what you're saying, that even with the loss, you're looking at using that, even though sometimes you might not give you 100%, you're using that as motivation to even do what greater things.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And my dad is we always say he's a workaholic. I think he lives to work. You know, he's always looking to improve things. He's always looking to put his best foot forward. You know, so I think that was more. It probably was therapeutic for him as well to just continue to and push through and make sure that he's showing that even in the worst times, you can still push through and have this thing and show God's glory and even in tragedy.
Exactly. Wow. That's great. Big ups.
Honestly. So how, like, what, I mean, obviously I do see a lot of like your dad's work ethics in you. I don't know if you would agree as well.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I always say as kids, when you grow, you're trying to be like the opposite of, in a sense, what you saw growing up, or you try to limit the parts that you see as a negative. But it's funny that you constantly try to do it, but at the end of the day, you end up being like the same. You get what I mean? You kind of.
So are you trying to say you are going to Asopudiala?
No, that one.
I wasn't even gonna push. I wasn't gonna push the conversation there. What I was trying to even say was, we're gonna get into like your work outside of like church and all of that, but even just seeing how your pops worked in the church, what are some things that you found yourself doing in the church now? Let's start there.
Yeah, so my wife and I we're very adamant in doing as much as we can in church. Right now I'm part of PENSA with ACGC, where college development and career building. We just had a program last weekend with college introduction, right? So we gave a talk on how incoming freshmen to college, how to structure yourself. So that's something that I'm very proud of that we're doing in the church, is trying to help new young students coming up and young people coming up to make the best decisions for themselves. In our local, we help with the children's ministry. I'm a part of the men's movement. I'm a secretary. So we try to put programs on every. That's it. You see,
you both are secretaries, right?
Yeah, I was a secretary, so
you're a secretary too.
Yeah.
So we try to put on programs every month. I think this year what we're trying to get into is like just our theme is like from boyhood to manhood, right? So that, and there's a lot of different aspects that touches, right? So finances, health, emotional stability, just that process of actually maturing from just a young boy to a man, right? How do you go through that process? So that's what we've put together that series, and we have a program every month addressing a certain aspect of that.
Okay. So we see you in the church now. I know I said that you see a lot of your dad's work ethic maybe in you and how you do your stuff, but we're trying to, part of like the goal of this podcast is to get people to see like you don't have to do things the traditional way, right? So how are you doing ministry different from your dad in a way? I know like you're not an apostle, you don't have that title, but like a lot of PKs do tend to just want run away from service, do stuff in the background. But what made you like decide like to give in, and then how are you doing it differently where you're comfortable, you're serving God, and you're doing it in a way that like you're cool about it. I hope that makes sense.
No,
your own
I
comfort.
Yeah, your own comfort.
Yeah, for me, growing up, there was one thing that always bothered me. It was like everything had to be a secret, right? We're not in our culture. It's like the BISA, you get what I'm saying? And it really bothered me because at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to get from point A to point B? You know what I mean? If I'm not having practical ways of doing it, right? So what I try to model is that I want to always show people how to do something, right? Before I ever tell somebody to do something, I want to try it first, fail at it or not fail at it, and then give you step by step on how to do it, right? I feel like that's where my ministry is just giving practical advice that, okay, you want to be a millionaire. Okay, how do you go about becoming a millionaire, right? You want to become a pharmacist. Okay, how do you become a pharmacist? What do you need to do from day one? What do I need to do from day 90? What do I need to do? And that's it. A lot of times the theoreticals, it bothers me because I say, okay, I understand, but okay, yeah, you're saying, you get what I'm saying? So that's what I've taken it upon myself to always use my life as a marker to kind of show, right, how to get to the point that you want to get to. That's not to say that I'm exactly where I need to be, but every time that I learn something new or I learn a process, I make sure to try to teach somebody else on how to do it,
Now, I want to follow up and ask, like, what has been the setbacks with that? Because, like you mentioned, we are in a society or in a culture where everybody wants to, keep it a secret. Has there been like challenges in doing that, or has it been like, have you seen it to be actually pretty successful?
Yeah, for me, I don't really see any drawbacks to it. I mean, maybe I'm naive and there is drawbacks and people are like, oh God, why does this guy do this? You know what I mean? Maybe there is, but I personally don't pay attention to it. I don't focus on it. So maybe it's there, but I just haven't seen it. I don't really see, okay, I guess what I would say is a lot of the times, like 90% of the people that I actually show things to, they don't do it, or 99.9% they won't do it. Right. And so the other day I was having a conversation with my sister and she's like, yo, you need to start charging people for consultation fees. And I'm like, no, this stuff is readily available. I'm an open book. I want to show people that stuff, because she was riding around with me and literally I was on the phone with somebody for like 2 hours and she's like, you're still doing multiple things. Why are you still on the phone with this person? You should be charging. Like, no, information is readily available.
On that point, I want people to know we have great resources in our church that I think sometimes people want to go out and pay. I don't know why, but when we say resources, we have millionaires in our church. We have people like with business, like proper business,
social capital.
Yes.
So, like, I wish we would tap into them more and take it. I really wish people, like, I know our brother here, like, if you hit him up, like he will literally give you what he has
Right.
just so you can succeed. So I really wish people would take advantage of
Right. No, I mean, sometimes once if you're in the middle of something, you don't truly appreciate what it is that you have until you're outside of. Pentecost is huge. You know what I mean? There's just so much that it gives. The spiritual side is even a more than enough. But even aside from that, the networking that comes in with being a Pentecost member is insane. It's
Global.
insane. Yeah, it's insane.
And I think we need to touch on this where like you come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, the secrecy, like it's an abomination to talk about even the good things, what you have been through, right? And the steps that you took to arrive at that place. Now, how do you think, how has that changed because looking at your dad's ministry, it looks like he actually have done things that are not necessarily what used to be the normal, traditional, right? So let's touch on certain things. Ministry and business, ministry and wealth. What are your take on what is your take on that?
Oh yeah, for sure. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? A lot of times money has an outsized role in our lives, but for some reason we tend to want to overlook it, right? I have a friend in our local, an elder in our church. He's an entrepreneur as well, and he always says, it needs sika, right? BR requires sika, but for some reason we tend to want to demonize sika. It's not the sika that's a problem, it's the methods that you're using or how you use how the money controls you, right? Because money is the avenue that you use to change things or circumstances around you. The only sky adding so best you get what I'm saying? So like getting money is not the issue. The problem is how do you pursue the money, right? Is it a noble way that you're doing or is it a negative way, right? So I think we as a community we need to change our mindset concerning money. And also not just money but wealth creation, right? A lot of times I hear like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, or I want my kids to do this, or I want my kids to be, I want to be rich. But then the question is, okay, what are you doing to change that perspective, right? Or to change that or become that successful, right? There's not a lot of people that have become millionaires or become rich by just doing just the regular, normal routine stuff, right? There has to be something outside of that. Wealth creation, it's you use money to create money, right? In a certain sense, right? And it doesn't have to be huge money. So starting in Kitia, even your regular 401k. There's plenty of millionaires out there in the United States, and they will just be walking around and you won't even know them, right? It could be your regular schmegler Joe. Because a lot of people think, oh, I need to have $1 million in my bank account to be considered a millionaire. No, it's your assets. Once we take off your assets and your liabilities, what's left, if what's left is $1 million, you are a millionaire, right? So we have to start rethinking what it means to actually acquire wealth, right? It's the assets and not physical money, right? So your 401k, investing in your 401k, investing in stocks, investing in real estate, stuff of that nature that builds wealth. And it can be done passively. One thing that I'm really determined to kind of change our mindset about is whereby I won't say, yeah, my no more. So, they be a person, or doctor, and I'll be a lawyer. And the question is, okay, why do they always go that route, or why is that the first thing that comes to their mind, right? Because they think that work brings in income, right? So they're associating the work with just the income that's coming in. that's well and good, but I know plenty of doctors that are making six figures and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. You get what I'm saying? So it's not the money coming in, it's how you utilizing that money to build financial freedom and wealth.
So I want to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible? I want to word this carefully too, because I don't want people to take this out of context.
It's
Is it possible for a COP minister to be wealthy or to acquire wealth? And in your knowledge of finances, please explain, like, share how they could do that.
Absolutely.
Because it almost seems like if a minister has money, it's like, hey, where did they get this money from?
Exactly. That also for the Uchi Bentley. Also for the Bentley for Benz.
Benz amount $3,000.
Oh, Nanania Bremby. People don't know this.
Yeah, local auction. I'll be now Benz $3,000. The Benz is actually cheaper at an auction than your Kias and Nissans. So, see, a lot of times we associate what we see physically with what's considered as wealthy, right? And which is, it's in a sense, it's just the way our culture is, right? But it's absolutely doable for a minister to acquire wealth, right? Because if you're investing your money in ways that allows you it to generate money back, right? You can live a pretty minimal lifestyle as far as how much expenses, and continue to build wealth. So let me give an example, right? So when I first got started into real estate, there was a packet that I received, and it pretty much broke something down, right? So let's say you're a pastor, and throughout your pastoral career, you are transferred 5 times, right? So each time that you are transferred to a station, you buy one house, right? You buy one house, and then when you're leaving that station, you just rent it out. I'll do you one better. I'll say, instead of renting it to a regular tenant, just try to rent it to like government, right? So either affordable housing or the military, right? So that you can guarantee that rent that comes in, right? So your first station, you buy a house. The second station, you take the income from the rental that you bought the house from and buy another house when you go to your second station. You do the same process. Let's say you get transferred 5 times. By the time you get to retirement, you have 5 houses, right, that have tenants that have been paid in for close to 20 years, the average minister's this thing.
I need to take notes. This is free gems.
Right? The average minister does 20 years. You've received 20 years of rental income. And then the bonus is, by the time you're done, you've almost paid off the mortgage, right? So you retire and you have these houses that you can either sell for straight up cash, or you can keep them as rentals and continue to have that residual income that comes in when you're retired. You know what I'm saying? It's a different way to think about money. And that physical cash now, right? The goal is to get to a point where you have enough passive income coming in that it replaces your full-time job. That is the true nirvana, right? That's where when you don't have to worry about money, that's when you're able to really tap into your true purpose, right? Because at the end of the day, Johnny around, no, even though we don't like to admit it, it's Johnny around. Because if you don't have to worry about money, imagine all the things that you would do, right? If you didn't have to think about money.
Think about it, though. If it's not about money, members will not come and say, and that's all for we say, and that's all for my many wig, and that's all for
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
So right. I think it's very important. And actually, the Bible says that I was reading something, right? I was like, bro, this thing just got me all messed up. It says that Ecclesiastes 9:15, a poor wise man knew how to save the town, so it was rescued. But afterward, no one thought to thank him.
Mm.
So even though wisdom is better than strength, those who are wise will be despised if they are poor.
Memory verse of the day.
Right.
What they will say will not be appreciated for long.
But you know, and poverty, being poor is not about Sewunisko. It's a mindset. It's the poverty mindset, right? A lot of times there's we have a scarcity mindset. Man, can you more forgiving me, right? Because we feel like you know, that's the poverty mindset, right? You got to think beyond that.
That is true. My husband has a saying, you have to spend even for some to come. It got to go for something to come. There gotta be
you get what I'm saying?
Because me Papa Soka said, Uniska, Uniska. The point is, it's just basically the same thing though. Basically, if you don't have money, nobody sees you as, you know, you're this honorable person, you are nice, you are free, because you don't give, you don't do good. People who do good, people think they got it.
You got it. You know
they might not even have 10,000 in their accounts, but the life that they live, people think that they are honorable, they have it, and they do. So it's very important. It's very important because you have to, if you're a pastor and you can buy a nice suit and wear, you are trying to tell us that you are poor because you're holding on to it. You're not even thinking. But if you buy a nice suit and wear, people look at you like, what's up for? Shaving crowd.
But see, let me make it even more practical, right? So let's say you're an average person, right? And your regular income, you live off of $3,000 a month, right? Right. Instead of thinking, oh, I need to be a millionaire to consider myself rich, right? If you can replace that $3,000 with money that you don't have, with income that you don't have to work for, imagine how much free in your life will become. You will feel more than a millionaire. You get what I'm saying? You feel like, even though you don't have $1 million, if you're able to replace that $3,000, because right now, sir, because I said, oh, okay, for the rest of your life, you don't have to worry about your phone bill, cry. How's that going to make you feel?
Happy.
Very nice.
Right? So that $200, if you can do some passive investment that replaces that $200, just imagine now I don't have to go to make $200 to pay my bill. So that time now, I can do so many other things, right? So the goal is to get to a point where you are able to claim your time back, because at the end of the day, time is the most valuable thing in this world.
Okay, so the people that might say, also for pastor, why are you worried about money? Why are we talking about this and the third? And do you even have time to be doing these business things? Meanwhile, your flock is there. What do you say? What are some of the practical ways you think they can navigate around these things, even pastors and PKs as well?
Yeah, for sure, right? Because what we got to do is just change that mindset that comes with that, right? Like I said, if the goal is to get to a point where you have enough passive income that the time component doesn't have to be what, because say if I'm still making money and I have the time to tend to my flock, they're not gonna have that excuse to say, right? Say, you're not looking after the flock. You get what I'm saying? I think pastors are in a great position to be able to get into passive income. What we need to understand is what are those areas that are considered passive income, right? So passive means that you don't have to work for it. The money works
for you.
brings residual income, right? Multiple ways to do that, right? You can do private lending where you get interest on your private lending that brings you money, right? You can put money into the stock market, right? And it sounds complicated, but it really isn't. You can, a lot of people try to day trade, which you shouldn't do if you don't have the time and the skills to do it. Just put money in aside and let it sit for years on end. By the time you hit your retirement age, it's going to bring passive income in, right? You can rent out your homes and get passive income, So I think what we need to start appreciating or understanding is all the different ways that can create passive income, and not just think said income always have to be something that we're actively in, right? I think that's the mindset shift that our community needs to get to, whereby there's a different mentality on how we acquire money. You get what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense.
It does. And I have a question, and I really hope no one takes it anyway, but I just noticed that when we're speaking of finances in our church, it's a lot of that life insurance, IUL way. Can you bring a little education on that? I know you're talking about passive income, and you've just mentioned several different ways, but is that those IULs or the life insurance enough for them to like just invest in?
So those IULs, and then this is a soft spot, because a lot of times we get a lot of people that do speak on those. So I'm not trying to
I just bringing this up because a lot of our financial seminars are just literally this.
IULs.
Yeah.
Right. So
what is an IUL?
It's basically an insurance product where you invest in, and the idea is that you put money in every on a monthly basis or yearly basis, quarterly basis, or whatever, and then at a certain point, once it vests, you get returns. You can either borrow against it or you receive money from it. Residual income from it at a certain point in time, right?
So it's just basically like an IRA, or like
in a certain sense,
but
on your own terms, right? So based on your specific profile, your health, or whatever, you buy a policy, let's say $1 million policy, then you have to be putting money in every single month, and then that policy at a certain point, let's say maybe a year or 2 years, you are able to borrow against that policy at a very low rate, right? I honestly do not know specifics or much into IULs. The problem that, or any kind of insurance that purports to be like an investment scheme, the way I always approach it is a cost-benefit analysis, right? It's how much am I putting in and what's my return that I'm getting in, right? Some of these policies are requiring like $500 to $1,000 a month, right? That you're having to put in. And I'm like, that's a lot of money. And
if you're giving that much, it means
it's a lot of money, right?
That money can go into like a real investment that you probably,
and like I said, I don't really understand that product as much, so I don't want to talk. I don't want it to seem like I'm talking against it. It's just when I did my math on it, it just didn't work for my family, right? Because I feel like there's an opportunity cost to that kind of funds that I was putting in there. Now, it might work for somebody else, but based on when I did my analysis, the cost of it was way too much than I was willing to do.
But it sounds like the ideas you gave for passive income are pretty good and sustainable, that you can still watch your flock, like you said. You're not, losing too much money anyway, and in the future,
real estate is one of those things that it's like it doesn't go away, right? So real estate, that's what I know. I know it well, so I'm always all for it, especially if you buy in a good area. And for the most part, where our ministers are, they usually tend to be in the good suburbs with good schools, right? You find a place with a good school, you buy a house there, just buy it within a reasonable price range, and then distance. So like, I'll give an example, right? So let's say you end up getting transferred to Georgia or Atlanta, right? There's where I am, I have a specific bank that offers a product. It's called I don't know the specific name of the product, but basically they say if you have a certain income, if your income is below a certain threshold, or you buy a house in a community that's minority majority. So basically, if the majority of the population in that community is a minority population, then they'll allow you to get a loan with 100% financing, whereby you don't have to bring a down payment as your first residence.
That's interesting.
Right? So a lot of these programs we qualify for. You got to be very certain on which program you qualify, but you can get a house for little to no money, right? So once you go into your station, because as a pastor, for the most part, your housing is taken care of, right? So if you can buy a house, even if it's considered a secondary home, and you're bringing very little money down, let's say 3%, right? And you're buying like a $200,000 house, right? And you can get it for 3%. And then you rent it out to, let's say, I love government programs. A lot of my rentals, I put them, because that one I don't have to worry about rent. I hate chasing rent, right? So with the government program, they cover the rent for you, right? You put the tenant in there, and then you just manage. You don't even have to manage the property yourself. You just get a property manager. Buy one at your first station. Second station, let's say Colorado. I could find you another place. You do the same thing. Then Virginia, I could do the same thing. Once you hit retirement, even because house, it always appreciates. As long as we don't get nuclear war, your house is always going to go up in value based on just market forces, unless say you buy in a really bad area, which I wouldn't recommend. But as long as it's an average area, it's going to go up in value. You sit on it 20 years, you're good to go.
This sounds like something that a minister can do entering into ministry with the house that you're probably about to leave. Like, this is
exactly.
Something immediately.
Oh,
exactly.
Yes.
Sell the house.
Have a house. Yeah.
Don't sell it.
Yeah.
If you can, you kind of have to do the math, right? Because, like, let's say if you have a $500,000 house, but in the area that you are, the rent in the area is only $1,000. It doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to get enough rent to cover the mortgage. But if it makes sense, don't sell the house, just rent it.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, we are, getting to the end of our conversation. I think we want to transition the conversation to retirement. What is the retirement looking as a PK and where you are in life? I know, and you're a male, so I mean, I do believe that there's a desire to make sure, like, my family is good. What are some plans that have been put in place that you even want to share with the public that would be good advice for other PKs in terms of preparing for retirement, helping your parents prepare for retirement, and making sure that the family is going to be straight after active ministry?
For sure. Yeah. So this is a constant ongoing conversation that my siblings are having with my parents, right? Trying to figure out, okay, what does retirement look like? What the other day I sent him a list of questions, and I told him that he needs to answer them because we're gonna have a meeting. Right. And some of those questions are like, hey, what does retirement look like for you, right? How do you plan on staying active while you're in retirement, right? Let's create a will. Ghanaians don't really like talking about wills, right?
Sensitive topic.
But then, God forbid, everybody's gonna go. But the thing is, can we prepare ourselves for it so that when we leave in conform markets, they're not suffering, because grief is hard enough. We don't have to be worrying about money issues too once grief comes in, So what we did was we kind of worked our way backwards, right? So we said, okay, in retirement, how much money do you need to comfortably live, right? So we pick the number. Let's say, and again, this is not an actual number, but whatever. Let's say it's $3,000 is what we need to live, right? Okay. What's all the avenues that we're going to get money from to make up that $3,000, right? So Social Security, 401k, gifts, right? Okay. Let's say that comes up to 2,000. Right now we have $1,000 shortfall. How do we cover that $1,000? Okay, what can we do? Because what can we do that's passive that we can make up that $1,000? Okay, well, a brother just bought a business, right? What if we invest in that business and he returns you 10% on that, however much you put in? It takes off a little bit more chunk out of $1,000, right? You like doing cars. You've always worked on cars. You go to the auction on a regular basis. What if we got you an auction pass and you're able to sell one car every month and make $1,000? That covers a certain portion. You know what I'm saying? So it's systematic. You kind of work your way backwards, figure out what it is, where you want to end up at, and work your way backwards to figure out how to get to the point that you want to be at, you know. So that's what we do. And it's a constant back and forth that we're going through with him as well, you know.
Wow. Like, bro, you don't even know. I'm actually sitting here. Me too. I'm a retiree. I'm a retiree. And the same thing is what we're thinking about, because my parents are in Ghana, right? So we're like, because we don't say it enough. It's important, right? That we let it know. Some of our fathers, when they retire, their lives do not, it's not, and we can, like, and because it's like, oh, and sometimes they'll make a joke, they are retired, though, we want to do, but we can't do, like, and it's as if, okay, if you start active ministry, you can't do anything else. You know, that mindset said, okay, well, now you're suffering, but they say when you're suffering, you're a businessman, and now, oh, yeah, you may be, and now, yeah. It's like, some of them cannot wrap their minds around it, and they want to live around, and they want to maybe go to places and preach, but it's good.
So is it a mindset, or is it maybe like they didn't really plan for it? Because one of my questions I wanted to ask you is, when do you need to start planning for retirement as a minister? Like
yesterday. 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 And now
nobody's always like yesterday.
Yesterday, and then they are late, but we'll consider no, because we stumble our way into issues, right? Because once retirement comes around, and the thing with ministers too is sometimes there's funds coming in because of, you know, you get in a paycheck, who could preach you a high, maybe you'll be bema or be a high. So there's every time there's money coming in certain ways, you know. So it gets to a point where you don't think through it too much. But once retirement comes in, your income is fixed.
Gonna creep in.
It's fixed, you know, so you got it. It's like there's nothing else coming in. So it's hard to really predict how that income. So we have to be very careful about those things. So you need to start planning it out. And then it's like I always say start with the end goal and then work your way backwards. So when I'm in retirement, how much do I need to live comfortably? Let's say it's $4,000. Okay, if it's $4,000, how much of a nest egg do I have to have in order to be able to get that $4,000 every month? Okay, what can I do starting yesterday to make that money that I needed to get that $4,000? It's always just working through that process backwards.
I think PKs everywhere should actually take this seriously, to be the people. Like you said, you send the questions to your parents and be like, hey, let's talk about this. And I think we should start doing this years, at least 5 years before. When they hit that 60 mark, start questioning them, start getting all these things that you ought to do, like, you know, setting these things in place, because sometimes they get carried away with a whole bunch of things. You never know what's going to happen. And then the time just creeps up on you, and then you're there, 65.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, at the end of your hey, you better say, you know.
And I told them, I was like, when the time comes, I remember from Mr. I need you to give me specific way, okay, way. We had not one episode the man away because me person me country man so me ni obi antimo so. Of course, you see, I'm a German. Oh
my God!
Here wa Mr. Fadin to so way.
Fadin to so. And that way, why did that so?
Why did that so?
Alanda, why did that so?
I don't want to fight anybody for anything, right? So, like, if we document and say, wait, me person wait, me person wait, then bye, I no orderly now, you're fine. A lot of times we don't do it, and then because obia something is going to is put down. So obia. Now, maybe friend at one point.
I mean, so far as our retirement, retirement is coming closer, and then it means that one too is also okay.
Coming closer.
Wow. I actually enjoyed it. It's like, some people might not think it's important, but when you get there, you understand, because right now you think you're young, you are going to be the responsibility of your parents. Oh no, your parents are gonna be your responsibility.
Your responsibility, yeah.
Yes. And if you don't plan ahead, right, and don't influence them, our parents literally listens to us. Like you know, like your parent, it gets to a point your parents listen to you because like a draw benome, like, so we have to take that mantle and make sure that they are well established, they are well prepared for when that day comes. Because when that day comes and they are not prepared, the onus is gonna be on you.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, when you're ready, that responsibility is gonna be on you. And if you want to go on vacation and you can't go because your mom is not or your dad is not, and then all that kind of good stuff is not happening, then it's sad. It's a sad thing.
And retirement is meant to be enjoyed. Like, I think it would be sad that, your parents are going into their retirement service and there's no peace within themselves because it's like, what are we going to do? So I do really believe that these conversations need to be had. We need to stand up and take responsibility. And I feel like this episode has been really informative. I do think people are really going to enjoy it and be blessed.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you,
Dr. Kujo. We thank the missus for allowing you to even as signing the consent form.
Before we let you go, any last words that you have for us?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm so proud of the two of you for putting this together. It's well needed. It's a well needed space. All the guests that you've had have had different experiences that gives enlighten us in different ways. So definitely appreciate it. Continue to do it. It's a ministry that you're doing. Very happy to see it. And like I said, I'm an open book. I'm looking for people to be able to help. I want to help people in any way that I can. So if anybody wants to reach out, they can.
What's your IG? Put your IG out here and let the people
Yes, know. Cool Joe 89. So I try to play on the Cujo, and I did Cujo.
Cool Joe. I mean,
yeah.
I also know it's cool. Yeah, but what is that? I thought it was KUL Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife laughs at me all the time, so it's all right. He said,
"It's pretty smart."
You're corny, Papa.
They always love the corny ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's Cool Joe 89. Yeah,
That's what's up. Well, thank you for joining us, guys. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, share. It's important that you share. Share it to your pastor. Share it to your soft mom, share it to your elder, share it to your deacon, all these leaders in our church, especially our parents. These are some of the things that we want to spread so that we go up higher, and we do not just be the Ghanaians in America, and then we stay here, and not do anything. But man, really appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you, sis. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Continue doing what you do. It's really appreciated.
It's a pleasure. Well, next time we'll do the PK retiree reunion, and then we will come back.
Right?
Wait for me.
Wait for you. And therefore, any other one say, it's the PK podcast. Until next time, peace out.